What is up, guys? Welcome back to yet another Man God Splaining Mushoku Tensei, a series of videos where I scour the internets for the worst takes on Mushoku Tensei and at least try to bring some sort of knowledge to the particular poster, while at the same time not bringing their name out there. I don't want to show the posts themselves. I don't want people to go after them and berate them, but I figure it's a really fun way for us to get together, look over what people's takes are on Mushoku Tensei, and again, maybe bring a little bit of knowledge in there. Bring some knowledge of the Mushoku Tensei series, because I've read up to volume 21 at this point of the novel series, and sometimes there is some stuff that is left out of the adaptation. So, without further ado, let's jump back into, yes, part 3 of this particular poster. They have officially done part 2 of season 2, so I think we still have another 3 videos of content, including this one, to go through. And yes, it continues to get more and more crazy. So yes, without further ado, let's just jump into it. Kicking things right off the bat with the F this show. Seriously, F it. We knew this was coming. We knew this was coming. Rudeus imprisons and the girls are forced to themselves in humiliation. As usual, I will be bleeping a lot of the more obscene words because YouTube doesn't like it, unfortunately. Themselves in humiliation for breaking his perverted figurine. It's not a perverted figurine. It's just a model of Roxy. I guess apparently Roxy is perverted. Now, yes, it is a cast-off, but it covers everything up. It's not that bad. That's already horrible to make of Roxy since she wouldn't consent. Oh my gosh, you have to have the consent of Roxy to make a figurine of her. He didn't ask for consent from Ghislaine either. There's a whole bunch of figurines he made. In this whole segment here, he actually makes one of Sylphie too, or Fitz. He didn't get her consent. When Rudeus admitted himself, he can easily just repair the figurine himself. Yep, that was he got caught up in the moment. He acted really stupid. And I would even argue right here, and I'm really surprised, I don't think this poster actually brings this up. Yes, in this segment right here, I was more irritated by the fact that Rudeus had this happen to him. This is where his trauma came from. He got tied up to a fence post, stripped down, and they took pictures of him to humiliate him. And he did the same thing to these two. That should be what you're outraged about. I was outraged about it. And I was really, really, really hoping that Rudeus would actually consider that. Oh, wait. I just did the same thing. I really felt like that would have been a really interesting thing to get into, but Refugin just... Rudeus' mind didn't go that direction. And that's fine. It's fine that Rudeus doesn't think about that. It doesn't have to be thought of. It's not as if everybody always thinks about how hypocritical they are. In most cases, people don't know how hypocritical they are until somebody has to point it out. And nobody pointed out because nobody knows about his trauma. It's interesting. Oh my gosh, I'm going to defend Sylphie again. For those that missed it, last video, and again, this is funny because everybody thinks that I'm like the worst person when it comes to Sylphie. Everybody hates my Sylphie. Well, not everybody. There's a group of people that think that I extremely hate Sylphie. And for a while there, I was pretty upset at her. It's analyzing. But yeah, I've been defending her. So now apparently I'm going to have to do it again. Sylphie is an incel wet dream. Such a doormat that she has no morals or opinions herself. Thinks about Rudeus all the time. And her priority seems to be that Rudeus wasn't aroused by the girls, instead of kidnapping and he committed. Right? Because that's what she is, concerned about the protagonist is how demeaning this is to her. She's the archetypal wife under the patriarchal gaze. She's just made for Rudeus and in service of him. Okay, yeah, I'll give you this one that I think Sylphie probably should have questioned. Why did you kidnap them? That's not a really good thing, especially since she's part of this, well, she's under Ariel, who is the student council president. They do a lot of things regarding keeping order within the school itself. But yeah, I mean, is it bad that she immediately doesn't have sort of a question mark of, hey, he's actually getting with somebody and he's doing some weird thing with them? Again, it's a jealousy thing. We went into this in the previous video going through this whole thing. It's called jealousy. I know I'm at the point now, especially with one thing that I seen when I was trying to convert everything over to this document from their thread. I am getting the impression this person doesn't like the idea of interaction with human beings in regards to intimacy. I think this poster has a problem with intimacy, especially with some comments made about Rudeus grabbing Sylphie's butt after they've been married and everything like that. It just really feels like this person has a problem with intimacy, which is again, I think the person needs to get out more. This is called jealousy, by the way. This is called jealousy. She is afraid that this person that she loves so much that she's struggling right now to tell him who she is. She's considering that he's getting off with somebody. And that's something that she wants to get in there for. And so, yes, immediately her thought is, what are you doing to them? Is this something that I want, kind of thing? She really badly wants him. And you have to take into consideration right here, he is wording it in a bad way. He even corrects himself. He's wording it in a bad way. Again, do I think this is good? No. Again, I kind of got angry at Rudeus for doing this because it was literally what caused his trauma. There is a aspect of hypocrisy here. And again, I wish it acknowledged it. It doesn't have to, though. But no, the idea of her being... I mean, you would probably know that more than anybody. I shouldn't have said that. That was mean. Yeah. Doormat, no moral opinions of herself. This is kind of what I was getting to last video, is that there is an aspect of Sylphie that she has been sort of molded with not the same sort of understandings of certain things that most other people do. She had a very rough life. Again, being transported to the middle of a palace out of nowhere, very, very young, being forced into a political battle, having to fight people to save her own life, and hide her emotions as this silent Fitz. She had barely any time to express emotions as a child. She doesn't have that development time that a lot of people normally have. Yes, Sylphie is not normal. There is not a single character in this story that is normal. And you thinking that they're going to be normally reacting to certain things is foolish, because they're not normal. They didn't have a normal upbringing. They didn't grow up under whatever roof that you have been under where you got your morals from. That seems, in my opinion, kind of weird, but it is what it is. And it's not demeaning to her that she doesn't react the same way you do. She's not an archetypal wife under patriarchal gaze. None of this right here makes any sense because I've never really seen a character like her. You act as if it's some sort of normal thing that normally is popped up in media that is patriarchal or something like that. But again, we've talked about this before. Throwing buzzwords doesn't make your argument. It just shuts it down. The show needs to recognize that Rudeus is a bad person and actually recognize how awful, the awful things he is doing. No, it doesn't. I've talked about this before. I'm not going to get into it again. It does not have to say something. It's telling a story. But it's not. It won't. It's treated as comedy. Yes, sort of, because again, in his mind, it's funny. There is no hesitation. Nobody could, and even if it's not just in his mind, loosen up. just loosen up. It's not that big of a deal. It's just relax and chill. You don't have to be offended by everything that happens on a screen. They still glorify Rudeus' shrine to a stolen panties of an unconsenting woman. Again, stop being offended by everything. God damn. You're like one of those people that it's like walking on eggshells around, right? I bet you're the life of the party. You're like that person that walks in the party and just points out everything. You're too close to that person. Did that person consent to you taking their cup and drinking out of it? God, you're a fuddy-duddy. This is it. God, we've spent 2 whole episodes on the nonsense that is this subplot about the figurines. No, it wasn't. Yeah, I think you're, again, this is one of those aspects, you're missing everything else in that whole segment. You're missing everything else here. There is so much about Julie herself, bringing her into the picture, Zanoba and his brother. There's so much stuff in here you're just completely ignoring because all you can think about is what's offending me. You don't even talk about anything that's actually good. I think if I remember correctly, when I put all this together, you didn't even talk about Nanahoshi. In this whole thread of stuff, you didn't even talk about Nanahoshi and all the crazy stuff that brings into Orsted, all that kind of stuff. Again, because the only thing you're worried about is what offends me, and I can throw my buzzwords that I learned from, I don't know, a community college for, I don't know, what's acceptable in the world or not. Picking up the girl subplot from the last episode that continues here, and yeah, it's still awful. Rudeus intentionally sets up a situation in which he buys 5-year-old girl and forces her to do years of training to then create sexy. Again, I don't know where you get the sexy figures from. They have never made a sexy figure. They will, as far as I know, have never. Where is this from? Again, you create these narratives that I never understand. It's like you're trying. It's not only that you're trying to find the worst in it. You're creating stuff. You're creating stuff. When have they ever made them? When? Never. ever. And no, it's not awful. They have taught her how to read, how to write, how to take care of herself. They've fed her. They've clothed her. You're acting as if everything here is evil, and they've taken care of her. And there's a whole subplot here about the fact that Rudeus and Zanoba are actively not trying to treat her like one. They're treating her like a sister, like a sibling, like a child, like a daughter. This is not good to you because the payment was made at first. Again, a payment in the world where this is normal. And I didn't get into this last video. I put it in my description. I made a whole video talking about this whole thing. There is so much positive message about the trade of people in the story that, again, you never wanted to acknowledge. There's a whole segment where, again, they save the Beast Girls. There's a whole segment where Paul is saving people from the trade. That's what he's doing in Millis. That's that first kid that Rudeus follows when he first meets Paul. He thought that they were kidnapping that boy. It was a boy from the village. But you know what they were doing? They were saving him from a person that had him trapped and was doing horrible things to him. Paul and his people saved thousands of lives. But again, you don't want to acknowledge that. That's a positive message. We don't want to acknowledge that. There's a whole side chapter that talks about where Ghislaine ends up being transported to before she gets back to this the camp. In that segment, it talks about a guy that was used to be in the trade. He was being forced to work, and then he worked out of that and became a commander and a very prominent man. Again, you don't like those stories, though, because it's positive. You don't like positive. I'm already getting super negative. I haven't even gotten very far. Rudeus intentionally sets up the situation. He buys 5, blah, blah, blah. If she were to escape or not want to do this, Rudeus and Zanoba would have to get a new girl. Yeah, I guess. And to note, I think there's several, if I remember correctly, there's several points in which he acknowledged that if she were want to go away or whatever, he would probably let her. And guess what? She would probably die. And that's another point against the whole argument that he can go in there and blast all the market and save all the people. Where do they go? Most of those people in that building went there of their own volition because they were going to starve elsewhere. And if somebody came in there and freed them, they'd probably look for another market to sell themselves to. That's how harsh this environment is. This isn't the world where everybody gets food stamps. This is a world where you're on your own. There's barely any orphanage. The only indication that we have an orphanage was some mention of it, I think, way back when Rudeus first came to the North. This stuff doesn't exist here. And the show wants us to empathize with Rudy. When? The fact that his unit's messed up, yeah, I guess, and his depression, yeah. See nothing wrong with this behavior, and view this as simply a way to make him a good owner. No, and I've seen that argument a lot. It's not saying anything about that. You're just implying that because it's in a positive way. Again, the idea that it's in a positive way, you don't like it. It's in existence in this world. He utilizes it, but at least he's doing it in a positive way. Again, not to say that forced servitude is a good thing. I hate it. And again, like I said last time, it still exists in this world. There is human trafficking to this day everywhere. And while you're grandstanding here about a fake story and how great you are that you don't like it, go do something about it. It exists in the world. Go do something about it. Rudeus is utilizing it here. Yes, super bad. But you're not doing anything about it. Rudeus is not doing anything about it. You're content. He's content. What's the difference? Isn't it interesting how Rudeus was in his past life, and we're supposed to sympathize with that and as the reason for all of his depraved behavior, but when he abuses the animal girls, it's deserved because they needed to be taught a lesson. Again, there's nothing there that says this is good. Nothing says it's a good thing. At least you actually acknowledge this whole thing. Rudeus himself doesn't acknowledge it, which kind of sucks, but again, he doesn't have to. But yes, technically, Lenny and Priscilla are very much so jerks. They're bullies. They've always been bullies. Since the moment that Sylphie and Ariel arrived in that academy, they were bullies. They were taking over the entire place. They were bullies. And yes, a lot of people don't really have much sympathy to bullies. Now, it does kind of suck because at this point, Lenny and Priscilla are trying to be better. They're actually trying to be better. But Rudeus jumps in there because, yes, this thing of his was destroyed. And that Zanoba wasn't able to protect himself. Zanoba was bullied by Lenny and Priscilla. And yes, Rudeus does not like bullies. And he now has the power to fight back against bullies. So yes, he got a little mad there. And it's so funny that you ignore the fact that that Lenny and Percent are bullies. You don't want to acknowledge that again. Oh, well, look at that. The woman who was forced to have with as many people as just needed to be tied down by the right guy. That's weirdly worded, but yeah, okay. So you're mad that Elinalise is happy and content with just one man? So you're mad when she was sleeping around, but now you're mad because she now is sleeping with just one guy. I don't get it. Are you saying that the men fixed her? I'm going to guess that's where it's going here, because you've said misogynistic like 50 million times. So I'm going to guess it's because you're mad that because a guy fixed it, and that you think this is implying a guy fixed it. Sure. Because this quote, I guess. No, it's called love. Again, I know this is a very shocking topic to get into with this particular poster, but yes, it's called love. She's been sleeping around with tons of men, and she never cared about the aspect of actual love. In actuality, probably avoiding a lot of it. And now she has somebody that has showed her what love is, and true compassion, and so many other things. The things that Cliff said to her when he first met her, I'm going to fix your problem, don't worry about it. Even though she thought that she would drive him away the moment that she said what she has and what she's dealing with, he accepted it. And he said, I'm going to fix that. Don't worry. I'm going to do everything in my power. And guess what? That's exactly what Cliff does. He goes and studies an entire thing that is completely outside of the realm of possibility for people. Nobody has ever considered this or even gotten anywhere in this research. He's doing it for her. Again, it's called love. It's a very difficult topic. I know. It's called love. The second Rudeus realizes that he has a crush on Fitz, he instantly wonders if he's actually a guy instead. He could not possibly be in love with a man. It has to be a girl. Oh no. Him struggling with his sexuality and questioning that even if it defaulted back to straight could have been interesting, but the show is not thoughtful enough to do that. Okay, here we go. So, of course, the episode ends with Rudeus finding out that Sylphie really is a girl, so now it makes sense. His suspicions were right. Lol. The show goes out of its way to point out that Rudeus could not ever be attracted to the same sex. Where did you get that? He literally says in the episode, I'm in love with a man. He literally accepts it. In the episode. Why don't you read properly? This person, I swear, has a reading comprehension problem. Again, I'm going to keep bringing it up. The whole Lilia thing, that absolves Paul of all wrongdoing because Lilia is guilty for her own actions. She blames herself. You read something weird out of it. No. Rudeus literally says that he is in love with a man. And in this entire segment in the novel series, it gets even deeper into the idea that he is in love with a man, and he's considering that he might just be for it. Plain and simple. He's accepting it. He literally is accepting it. And it's never good enough. And this was the problem that we had when this episode was airing. I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be bad. This is going to be so bad. There's going to be so many people saying that it's bad because it doesn't allow Rudeus to be into it. That it doesn't fall through with it somehow. And it's like, why? This is exactly why a lot of Japanese creators stay away from this stuff. And people wonder why there's not enough inclusion and whatnot in Japanese writing. It's because it's destroyed a lot of things in the West. It's going to destroy a lot of things in Japanese literature as well. It's because every time they get a little bit into it, these certain groups say, not enough. Not enough. Not enough. You need more. It's never enough for you. It's never enough for you. Or it doesn't do it in a way that you think is perfect. It did enough, in my opinion. He accepted it. He was kind of going for it. And again, like I said last time, the reason why there's the confusion there and the question there is because there's too many signals that he's getting that something else is happening here. And again, just like what happened to Sylphie, which he assumed was a man, and what happened? What happened when he assumed it was a boy? Yanked it down, and it blew up in his face. In this world, male elves are very feminine looking, so it's easy to get that confusion there. So it's no wonder he's going to be a little bit thrown off by this. He's well aware of the concept of a girl dressing up as a boy and acting like a boy. It's just not lost on him. Again, just because it doesn't turn out that Sylphie is a boy and something just pops out there, or suddenly Rudeus goes, oh, I can't be with you, Sylphie, anymore because I found out that you're a girl and I'm into boys now, that it's suddenly a bad writing. Anyways, and how absolutely terrified he is that he could be gay or bi. He's not terrified. Again, where do you get this? Even the only thing that I guess you're getting this confusion from is when he's making the figurine. And that's simply because he's afraid that he's going to offend Fitz. And in that whole situation, I think the whole figurine thing was really brilliant. Because the idea there is, as I forget exactly how it was worded, but essentially he is making this figurine of Fitz, but he doesn't know what's underneath. So he's constantly afraid, okay, how big is the chest? Should I make it here? And then yes, what's between the legs? There's a confusion there. And again, doesn't want to offend Fitz. He wants to make a figurine for Fitz, and he wants to make it very detailed, and he's confused as to what to put down there. You're drawing something out of this that's not there. Look at his face. He looks disgusted, disappointed, scared. Nope. But don't worry. The show will go out of its way to save you. You will always be straight. If you're in love with a man, you have the supernatural intuition where you can sense no matter the obstacles that they are really a girl, actually. Congratulations, you're making up your own stories now. There's the word, gotta use it. I knew it was coming. We all knew it was coming. Ding, 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 ding. It's there, we made it, guys. They used the word. Congratulations, you used the word. No, it is. They are jokes based in bigotry. And Rudeus' relief at there being a girl isn't funny if you could recognize the inherent homophobia of that. I love this ending part because it's like if you don't see it the way that I see it, then you're wrong and you're a bad person. Again, way to shut down the conversation. It's not. It's not. You want it to be, but it's not. You desperately want it to be, because it's another thing to hang on your little thing there. We got misogynistic, and now we got this. It does all these things. And I'm betting from this point on, we're going to see this word a million times. It's not. You want it to be, but it's not. No matter how many times you say it, it's not going to make it. There's even a character later on that literally is this. So if you think that it's against it, you're wrong. You're deeply wrong. Refugien has no problem with these people. And that's the whole reason it's bringing it up and having Rudeus almost accept it. Like, he's accepting it. He literally accepts it. Because Refugien doesn't have a problem with it. You have a problem with it saying it the way that you want to say it. And when you throw this stuff around, you're damaging your own credibility. And again, you're pushing away from these writers from even dabbling in it. It's sad. You guys are doing more damage to your own cause than you think you are. I mean, if this person's actually watching this, it's actually hinted at in the second season. Talhan literally looks at Rudeus' butt and says, And Elinalise is over here saying that he's going to take the most precious thing away from you. Yes, Talhan swings that way. He's not affected by the succubuses in the area. Why? Because he doesn't swing that way. If you think that Refugien's against this, you're wrong. Ariel likes to sleep with girls. You're terribly wrong. Refugien does not have a problem with this. Again, you're just creating it. Completed Mushoku Tensei Season 2, Core 1, 2 out of 10. Let's make it clear. Rudeus has two main flaws. Being a shut-in NEET for decades and the baggage that comes with it. We're already done with this one? Again, sometimes this stuff is completely out of order, but I put it in here the order they place it. So we might actually get into Season 2, Part 2, which is great. His objectification of women. As soon as Rudeus stops thinking of the women around him as human beings who might have actual serious feelings about having their panties stolen, being watched bathing, being outright assaulted, his attitude towards children is simply an extension of that. He goes from because he is unwilling to think about how a child would feel. Yes, like I don't argue that it's bad that he does this stuff down here. I'm trying to figure out if there's anything in here to really kind of get into again that's not just kind of repeating ourselves. The idea of him kind of seeing women sexually, again, this is another one of those things where it's going to be shocking to some people here, but that's men. Men have these desires. And when Refugien writes Rudeus, it doesn't filter that stuff because it's in his mind. He's going to be thinking about these things. And yes, right now, Rudeus in his position, again, this is not excusing it, it's explaining it. Rudeus right here doesn't feel like a human. He doesn't feel like a man. because the idea of your unit not working really, really dehumanizes you, makes you feel like you're not a person. And thus, yes, he is constantly trying to try things out. It's just a thing that he is going to do. So, again, doesn't excuse it, explains it. He's unwilling to think about what a child would feel. Yep, terrible. I agree. This is why his attitude doesn't change, even after he sees for himself that 11-year-old Edis' reaction to being is to freak out and run away. Yeah, okay. Mushoku Tensei sees flaw 1 as a problem, but doesn't see flaw 2 as a problem. Mushoku Tensei sees flaw 1 as a problem, which is being a shut-in NEET for decades and the baggage that comes with it. Oh, okay. Easy for you. Mushoku Tensei sees flaw 1 as a problem, but does not see flaw 2 as a problem. Well, here's the cool thing. This is going to be mind-blowing. I know. Here we go. Ready? Wait for it. Because of 1, the one that apparently Mushoku Tensei sees as a problem, you get 2. Isn't that cool? Cause, effect, cause, effect, cause, effect, cause, effect. That's the point. You finally get it. Ding, 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 ding. This thread maker has finally figured it out. Everything bad that he got himself into and dove into, and the trauma that he experienced a long time ago caused what he currently is. The thing that you don't... I said this a long time ago. For those that are keeping track of this, that are watching all these parts, they're getting it right now. I've been saying this from the very beginning. What I say way back in part 1 of this particular person's thread, I said if you don't sympathize and understand the fact that he was bullied back here, because he said that this is dumb, how can I take this seriously, because he was tied up to a post and stripped naked and picture taken of him. I said back there, if you can't understand that point, turn it off. It all starts there. And you claim that Roxy fixed it way back here. No, she didn't. She pulled him out of being a shut-in, but she didn't fix his trauma. If you can't understand that point right there, you're not going to get the rest of it. The rest of the story you're never going to get. One of the key things that comes from somebody being stripped down and put up like that, yes, assaulted. It's literally what happened to him, is they do the same thing. There's a perversion that clicks, and he becomes extremely stunted in his maturity. It's not saying this is okay. It's not saying this is okay. Again, and this is a cool thing, because you keep wanting the story to say something, and it never says anything. But yet you're claiming that it says something about this. You're claiming that it says something about this. You can't make up your mind what you think it's saying. But again, I'll say it again, for the people in the back there, this is seen as bad. Yes. It doesn't say anything about it, but you're seeing that it's bad. This poster doesn't see it as bad. And it causes this. That is bad. Welcome. You're figuring it out. Slowly, and you're probably going to just completely disregard it here in a minute, but I'm certain that you're seeing it at least. And so this at least tells me that you're seeing it, but you don't want to accept it. Does Rudeus have some character development? Sure. But that's meaningless when the issue of him sleeping with goes unsolved since he... anyways, yes, make it clear. It's a 40-year-old man sleeping with it. Throw it in as many in-universe arguments that you want. I'm surprised he didn't actually get into this. I was actually very much so thinking that he would get into this with the whole aspect of him sleeping with Edis, which was, again, I think at the time just almost of age. But the issue remains the same because the author designed the situation the way that in the first place. No, Sherlock. Every storyteller designs it the way they do. Every storyteller does. That's called fiction. They all design it the way they design it. Does it make it right? No. He is a 40-year-old man. Yes, we know. You said it right here. You don't have to say it a second time. You're repeating yourself doesn't change anything. The voice of his thoughts is the voice of an adult self. Whenever he talks about the man god, his mental self also is an adult self. His entire characterization is based on the issue he had as an adult in his past life and continues to have now. It was partially him in his teenage years, and it kind of just went into his adult life. In the very first episode of this show, we see him as a literal baby, thinking and behaving like a fully grown adult, with his inner voice being that of his adult self and talking to, yes, we know, okay, what else? We just going to repeat the story? There's an unbroken continuity between his two lives. A 45-year-old man having a body of a 15-year-old boy is very much so just a justification of the narratives, frames, saying the same thing over and over again. We've talked about this already. I guess apparently repeating yourself before you make an argument, I'm guessing. Why is it such a big issue that Mushoku Tensei specifically? Other isekais do weird stuff all the time. Sure, but other isekai stories don't show their protagonist viewing the footage of a naked niece having secretly recorded her former life. Okay, yeah, that's apparently web novel stuff. And then have their protagonist in their new life monologue about how they believe their magic teacher in the middle age, wondering if she has hair, and think that this makes her perfect. Again, what is your point here besides just saying how horrible he is? We've gone over all this. It is not critical of Rudeus. It does not judge Rudeus. It does not challenge Rudeus. Again, it doesn't have to. This is brilliant. Watch this. Refugin is a great writer in the fact that he assumes the reader will make their own judgments. I know this is a terribly crazy concept here, and I know some people are going to probably be screaming about how this is just deplorable. Refugin wants the reader to judge and look at it and think. He doesn't want to write, every time Rudeus does something wrong, he doesn't want to write, hey, just so you know, reader, that's wrong. Hey, reader, just so you know, that's wrong. And that's wrong. And that's wrong. Because he's allowing the viewer to experience the story, the adventure of it, question things, use their brain, and make their own judgments. You're upset about that. You're literally doing what he wants you to do, which is to read it and make your own judgments. But the problem is that you're mad because Refugin doesn't. You're mad that he doesn't write in there that it's wrong. It does not judge Rudeus. It doesn't need to. You have a very warped sense of wanting an adventure to say things about things all the time. It's really weird. It thinks that women rest after kidnapping them purely to see if it gets hard is funny. It sort of is. If you can not get that caught up in the whole situation and still acknowledge that it is fictitious, you can laugh at it. You can still laugh at it. It's okay. I don't have a problem with laughing at it because it's fake. But yes, I was still bugged out by the fact that he did exactly to these girls what he was done to himself, which was, again, hypocritical. But again, most people don't acknowledge what is hypocritical when they're doing something hypocritical. It has to be pointed out most of the time. I think Rudeus stealing women's underwear and treating them as religious relics is funny. Again, if you're not an absolute fuddy-duddy that gets offended by everything, it is kind of funny. I find it to be kind of intriguing and weird and interesting at the same time. And it is kind of funny, yes. I even like the idea of them making a limited edition Mushoku Tensei where you get the little box that Lilia made and you open it up and there's a ponzu in it because it's funny. It thinks dehumanizing banter about Nick in a slave market is funny. We've gone all this already. The author and the narrative are complicit. They agree with Rudeus. No, they don't. They're just not telling you how to think. I really wonder what kind of storytelling you like to read. Because if you want to be told how to think every 2 seconds, you're a robot. You're an NPC. You want to be told what inputs and outputs to do at all time. Think for yourself. Don't require your reading to tell you how to think. They don't agree with Rudeus. Go read the interview with the director and Refugin about the first season. They knew it would be a problem to adapt because it's kind of nasty. They don't think it's positive. They just know that Rudeus as a character doesn't care. And that's not bad storytelling. Again, Use your brain. You can think for yourself. They do not want him to treat women well, to avoid or to accept. Oh my God, dude. You're one of these people that think that if there's content in a story, that it supports it. You're one of those people that thinks if there's anything negative in a story, that means, and if you consume it, or the adapters, the studios, the animators, the writer, everybody is okay with it. They're complicit with it, and they support it. Everybody, like Giga says, everybody that, I think he said this, everybody that watches Attack on Titan, they must like genocide. I almost want to go and look at your list of... I think here recently you praised Planet With, which, by the way, I love Planet With. So everything that happens in that show that was horrible, I think they had some mass killing that too. You must be okay with it because you consumed it. You watched it. No, wait. You're continuing to watch Mushoku Tensei, so you're okay with it. You made a couple posts over here, which I don't know if you think that's going to fix anything, but you're okay with it. And again, because currently in our world, there's, I wouldn't think a single nation doesn't have some form of human trafficking, and you're not doing something about it, but instead watching a show, you're complicit with it. You accept it, right? 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 Weird. This is an absolutely brain dead mentality. Get out more. I hate to say it, touch grass. Mushoku Tensei has consistently shown that it thinks Rudeus' only problem was that he was depressed, gave up too easily, and was not antisocial. No, I don't agree with that. I think that's oversimplification, and again, because of what I've kind of seen previously with your analysis of this entire thing, or review of this entire thing, you're skipping so much stuff. You're skipping so many aspects. And before people jump on me, the issue is not solely that it is gross, because it's fiction, right? It's not really. Okay, let's say that. I'm just listing things that I think are gross. Writers can write whatever they want. Let's just say that it's obvious. Like, you've talked about nothing really positive. It's like maybe 2 posts. For the most part, you're completely skipping anything of value in the entire series because you're too focused on posting about the bad things. Again, you completely skipped everything around Paul and his venture to try to save people. The idea of saving the beast folk, the whole thing with the dragon god, Nanahoshi. There's so many points you're completely skipping. Fine, but it's also that this actively hinders the writing. No, it doesn't. None of this hinders the writing. If anything, him constantly stopping to tell you what you're supposed to think and constantly have these, I don't know, what you think is growth and what you think is redemption is what hinders a story. Refugian is specifically focused on, this is Rudeus' story, let's go. It's not constantly stopping to go, oh, just so you know, this is bad. Oh, so you know this is bad. And oh, yeah, look, Rudeus got his comings to him. Again, I argue the idea that if your whole sticking point is that he has to be shown that he's wrong or have some sort of redemption or something, some sort of blowback for what he's done in the past, I feel personally what he's done in a lot of cases that you're talking about with young characters is you can't be redeemed. It's impossible. It is literally impossible. But it's also that this actively hinders the writing. It limits the series from actually being well-told redemption story. You're talking about specifically the gross stuff? No. Again, I'm not going to say this a million times, but it's not a redemption story. It's never been a redemption story. It's never going to be a redemption story unless something happens further than I've actually read. I mean, you can claim certain parts or sort of redemption, but I feel like overall, based on what I've read and watched, it is not a redemption story. And again, I'm not finished with the novel series, but I can honestly say, based on what I've seen, it never shows that it's trying to go for redemption. It's always about the future. I was back here, things sucked, and now I kind of see a good thing. I see a good thing that I can build on. I can start going this direction. I like what I'm seeing here. So it's an aspect of, I did horrible things here, but because this is better over here, it's sort of redemption, the idea of him sort of finding better things. But it's never told in the way of going, I fixed what I did. I undid what I did. Or that I was wrong for doing what I did. It's simply, this is better. This life is better. Simply that. You can have a redemption story and also have Rudeus make jokes in it, market. again, it's not a redemption story, and he's gonna do that. And the fact that he does, I'm gonna make this point, and it's probably not gonna be likable to people. Again, I hate Forced Servitude. I hate that it still exists. I wish it never existed. The fact that Rudeus makes a joke there, I think it's a good thing. I know, again, don't like the existence of this, but the fact that he does that there shows me Refugin is not afraid to do that. Because Rudeus is not a good guy all the time. I respect that. I respect that a writer is not going to go, oh, I could have Rudeus make a... No, it might offend this guy. Yeah, I better not do that. Because Refugin does it, because Refugin doesn't have a filter on his character, and his character can do stupid things that are actually consistent with his character, and not even feel like I should not do that here, that's a good thing. Because it tells me that Refugin as a writer respects me. It respects me that I am a grown adult, that I'm a grown person, and that anybody that's reading this is a grown person that understands what's going on there, and will see that and go either laugh at it because it's fictitious or be mad. I don't care either way. But Refugin isn't going to filter it to keep you from being offended. It's not that Mushoku Tensei doesn't do growth from his former life relatively well when it's not about being a pest. I think it's decent at the other stuff. But the issues he has, which are far worse, the series ignores, celebrates, and makes it much easier for him to indulge. The series doesn't make it easier for him to indulge. There's nothing that gives it to him. Everything has purpose in this series. Make no mistake, everything that happens in the series has a purpose. There's always something that leads into something else. And anybody that has read the series, or at least is giving it 2 ounces of attention, unlike this poster, knows that everything has a purpose. Everything, you might feel that something feels a little convenient, but there's a purpose. Everything plays out the way it plays for a purpose. There's nothing here that just makes it happen to make it easy for him to indulge. I'm assuming the easy for him to indulge is this like characters like Sylphie, who is just solely sold on his character. Everything has a purpose. Does it celebrate it? If you call these moments where it kind of gets goofy or silly with it, sure. And it undermines any redemptive aspect of the story. Says you. Says you, because you're offended by everything. If they just deleted the I believe it's trade stuff, and instead focused on the story on Rudeus' journey from antisocial, depressed, shut-in to a hardworking, productive guy with a happy social life, that'd be great. Again, I said this before, I'll say it again for those that have not missed the other parts. You want a stupid, typical Isekai story. There's a million of them out there. Go watch those. This is not that story. This is not your typical Isekai. This story is about an antisocial, depressed shut-in that is trying hard to be a hardworking, productive guy. Will he get there? Question mark. I think based on what you've watched, he's pushing, he's trying, he's getting somewhere. I mean, in this segment that you've watched, he literally started to get a job. He's an adventurer now. He's trying to do that stuff. He's trying to make money. He's trying to find his mom. Again, it's an excuse to keep himself going forward. But again, no, I don't want this to be what you want it to be. You want it to be a sanitized, clean, nothing's offensive, and only things that I deem not offensive are allowed. This stuff is offensive and not allowed. I don't want it in my story. You are the worst type of person in the world right now. Like, super anti-freedom of speech kind of person, I'm guessing. But that's not what we get here. This isn't a redemptive story. He finally figured it out. Ding, 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 ding. Tell them what they won. They finally figured it out. Wow, they finally figured it out. Rudeus never becomes a better person. I'd argue he does. Based on up to this point, yes, he has become significantly better than he used to be. Him as he is now has accepted a loving person in his life. Him as he is now has made friends. He saved his family from being broken up. Yes, deceptive, but he kept them from breaking apart. He saved a girl in his home village from a bully. He fought to save Edis from actual kidnappers. Yes, it was all a ploy, but it turned into a real situation, and he saved her life. After being transported, he helped Bergerd try to fight against discrimination. Yes, he tried to stop discrimination against the Superb tribe. Tried to teach him about not killing people. Stopping him from killing people. Saved the Beastfolk girls from being captive. Saved an entire village from being massacred. He had a little spout with his father, but then he showed his father forgiveness and bonded with his father. Upon finding out about the whole displacement incident, he tries to go have his way in order to find out information about people being lost from the displacement incident or being captured. He saves his sister from captivity and his maid, and additionally, doesn't have an attraction to his sister. That shows a massive amount of growth there. Once he gets to the refugee camp, despite the fact that he goes into a depressed state because Edis leaves him, he helps the refugee camp in building troughs and helping with the different tasks they have around there. Going up the north, start doing adventuring, saves many people's lives during his entire process of doing adventuring up there. Saves Sarah's life, and like I said before, respects her consenting, which you really hate the fact that for that one time he actually respected her consenting to him. Goes over to the university. At that point, again, I would argue, yes, while Zanoba paid for a forced servitude kid, at least he brought her in and made it pretty well known not to treat her like she is a forced servitude person. Treats her respect, clothes her, gives her an education, which is unheard of for somebody in that situation. Again, helps his friend with being bullied. And yes, even after the whole situation with Lenny and Persena and capturing them, he actually helps them out and helps Persena learn magic. He helped Cliff meet Elinalise, the two of them finding the love of their lives. Again, there's all this stuff that you don't even want to acknowledge because you're too focused on saying bad guy, bad guy, bad guy. You can't see past the fog you've created. He just becomes a happier person. Can't have that right. I bet that makes you super mad. Because he's finally in another world that does not punish him for being a... People go unpunished in this world, sadly. Don't act like it's a different world. It means that he's not going to get punished. People don't get punished in this world, sadly. Again, massive sadly there. Don't act like this other world is something that's going to make him not get punished. That's what this story is. It's a story about an otaku being rewarded for growing in other ways, but being encouraged to stay, and I hate it. It doesn't encourage him to do that. It doesn't encourage him. And based on what you've kind of covered here, yes, technically the whole thing with Lenny and Persena and grabbing them, you can say it's a bad thing, but for the most part, everything up to this point, beyond everything with Edis, has not really been that. But you still think it's there. Then stop watching it. Just stop watching it. But you're not going to, because we got part 2. We got part 2. I kind of want to do a little bit of this. We're not going to get very far in it, but I do want to get this started. Part 2 of Mushoku Tensei, second season, isn't quite as outrageously horrible as its first part, but it's still a bundle of misogyny and culture in pretty much the same exact ways. Okay, throw those out there. It's okay that Rudeus bought to force her to work for his perverted friend for years. Again, Zanoba's, he's got an oddity about him, but I really think you're not understanding what Zanoba is. He's different. He's kind of touched. He's got a different way of viewing things, and he has a very screwed up childhood. And again, this is your lack of empathy for him as a character. You don't want to see that. You just want to see, he humped the statue. He's sick and disgusting. If she does not want to, they have to get a new kid for it after all. I think we've already done this one. Didn't we already do this part? I feel like I've already done this part. Fans somehow. Rudeus has stopped objectifying women at this point in the story. Who said that? Who are you talking to? Again, this is your made... I feel like this writer has like these made up... I think what happens is that whenever this person's watching the show, he's getting to certain parts where he or she gets to certain parts, they see something that they find offensive, and they have this trigger in the back of their head that flips it and makes up this fictitious fan that says, they do this. So when they get to this point and he's ogling Lenny and Persena, they go, there's got to be a fan out there somewhere that's saying, he stopped objectifying women at this point. You're making up people. Stop making up people. Rudeus' first scene in the second core, leering at a girl he's already a bit earlier. Oh no. Again, stop being offended by every little thing. He has a pair of panties that he stole from Roxy. He makes sexy figures of girls he knows where he can take off their clothes. That's one figure. At this point, it's just Roxy's figure and you're stuck on it. The rest of the figures are fine. Again, I think you're making up things to be offended about now. You're insane if you think his objectification of women is something that has been solved already. Nobody said that. Nobody. Nobody has said that. You're making up stuff now. Take care of her. If you treat her poorly, we will take her back. This is another example of how Mushoku Tensei is conservative coded. Oh gosh, now we get the political leaning stuff going on now. They consistently frame this as something that isn't up to Sylphie herself. It's not her choice. This isn't a conservative coded thing. Your problem here, for those maybe a refresher for some people, you have, the whole situation with Sylphie, the marriage happens, and then you have Luke duels Rudeus, and then you have Ariel basically say, if you don't treat her right, we're going to take her back. That's not conservative coded. That's not saying Sylphie doesn't have a choice for herself. All that is saying, because you're drawing that conclusion, because we know damn well they can't stop Sylphie. The point is they can't stop Sylphie from staying with Rudeus. They all know that. You know that. You as a viewer, as much as you don't seem to comprehend half of what happens in the story, you know damn well that they know damn well they can't stop Sylphie from being with Rudeus. It's not going to happen. What this scene is saying, for the individual that posted this, that I swear does not touch grass much, does not socialize with people much, does not understand social cues, does not understand how people interact, does not understand relationships, does not understand friendships, does not understand love. What they're saying here is that we love Sylphie more than anything. Ariel's saying, Sylphie saved my life. I'd be dead right now if it weren't for Sylphie. Sylphie saved me, and she protected me, and she continues to protect me. Luke is saying, Sylphie is my best friend. Do not hurt her. Ariel's saying, do not hurt her. Respect her. Take care of her. If you don't, we'll come in here and take her from you. It's them saying, take care of her. It's what any person says to somebody when they wed them off to somebody. You want them to take care of the person you love. It's as simple as that. Don't turn it into some politically driven thing. If you've ever been to a wedding, or ever been a part of one, this is brought up a lot. A father giving their daughter away. Boy, you better protect her. You better not hurt her. Or I have a stick at home that makes a boom noise. It's life. It is relationships. It's normal human interaction that I'm guessing you have zero of. What a stupid thing to make out of nothing. You're digging at this point. Just like asking your girlfriend's dad for his... Wow, you actually get into it and you're still saying this. Ain't no freaking hope for you, dude. Wow. Just like asking your girlfriend's dad for his blessing to marry her would stem from this exact same patriarchal attitude too. That is called respect. I know you don't like this whole tradition. It's just called respect. God, get outside more. Holy crap. Again, just like how Rudeus felt that, as the man, it was his responsibility to provide the house. Because they literally told him that. Oh my gosh, you're digging so hard, it's not funny. Rudeus does not know the traditions of this world. He doesn't even know if you have wedding ceremonies. His only example of a married couple is his dad and mom in this world, Paul and Zenith. He didn't see them get married. He literally doesn't know. So what does he do? He goes to his friends. Hey, Cliff. Hey, Zanoba. What do people do when they get married? They told him, typically, the male will welcome them into a home. So he went and bought a house. It's not Rudeus felt that. He was told. That's tradition. Wow, you're searching for something. Without asking Sylphie where she'd like to live or what kind of house. Oh my god, dude. Oh my god, dude. She literally doesn't have to pay for it, and he's welcoming her into his house, and you're upset that he didn't ask her what kind of trim she should have? Oh, it's like talking to an idiot. I didn't want to get to negative, mean words, but God, you're an idiot. The men and other people who have power over her in the relationship simply decide for her. Nobody's deciding for her. You're getting something out of this that's not there. Again, Luke and Ariel are just concerned for her, and they're giving Rudeus a stern warning. They're saying take care of her. They know they'll take care of her, and they know damn well they can't fight Rudeus. Ariel is afraid of Rudeus, but it shows how much she loves her friend by saying, please protect her. Even saying, I'll find other ways to get you. It's an empty threat, basically. She just wants Rudeus to know, don't mess up. Protect her. We love her. The men and other people who have power over her in their relationship simply decide for her, because she's the woman. She just needs to take care of her husband and be a good wife. Nobody said that. You're saying that. That sounds like a you problem. That must be what you think. I think that's a good... I'm getting so heated up. Like, that's a good point to probably stop here. I think I'm getting heated to the point where I'm starting to throw in mean words. But yeah, we'll call it there. Again, like I said, we got the rest of this entire part, which is going to be, I feel, is going to be extremely spicy, especially around things like, oh my gosh, Rudeus touched the butt of his wife. Oh my gosh. And oh yes, we got to get into Roxy. We got to get into Roxy. She's in love with me. I cannot take it. God, this show is gross. We'll get to it. But anyhow, as always, I hope you guys enjoyed this run through of this. I'm just going to call it this point stupidity. I'm sorry. I have to say it. There's too much reaching. This writer at this point, I was forgiving at first, but I'm getting to the point now where I think they're just reaching. They're trying to find things. They're trying to, at this point, make things up. I don't, when I read and when I watched this segment with Ariel, never did I get that they are making a decision for Sylphie. It is simply them saying, we love Sylphie, and we don't want anything to happen to her. There's always a sense of feeling that a little scared when somebody goes off to somebody else, when somebody moves in with somebody, marries somebody, and you don't have them at your side anymore. And you want the best for them. You want them to take care of them. It's all it's doing here. It's all it's doing. So you're reaching. This person's reaching at this point. And it's driving me crazy. But anyhow, I figure we'll probably get 2 more at least segments for this particular one. And that's it. Well, I'll have to go find another thread to dig into. I'm actually really enjoying this. These videos every week has been actually really easy for me to put together, even though it's extremely frustrating when I'm reading it. These are easy to throw together, and people seem to enjoy them, so I'm going to probably keep doing them until I run out of content, which I think is impossible at this point. I might start asking people to like screenshot or copy some and send them to me, and then have people look at it, make sure there's no spoilers in it, and then I'll go into them. So if you have really dumb takes that you can send my direction, go to the Discord and put them in Mushoku Monday or something like that. Just make sure to spoiler tag it and let me know. That way I can tell somebody to check it, make sure. But I just need the text and the reference of what they're talking about. But it's a lot of fun. I enjoy doing them. So anyhow, until next time, I thank you guys for watching. Hit that like button down below. Leave me a comment. If you like this content and you're new here, make sure to subscribe before you leave. If you like this content and you want to support it more, I have a Patreon link, tips link, super thanks, membership button down below. Greatly appreciate what it does. Until next time, I'll take care.